Ah, greetings, greetings, greetings. We are live from Kingston, Jamaica, and from the UK, and we are here with the KW magazine. Yes, wonderful. We are here with the KW magazine saying welcome to episode 3 of CREWShall Conversations. So, my name is Joanne Richards Goff, and I'm the editor in chief. I have a team though for the magazine, and the KW is short for Come, Macro Worship. And the magazine is all about facilitating conversations about worship and cultural identity among primarily, but not exclusively, persons of African descent, both there on the African continent and in her diasporas. We're having these conversations for 3 main reasons. Number 1, we need to get to know ourselves better. We need to get to know each other better. And through those means, our desire is to develop deeper, more authentic relationships with our Creator, Yahweh. And this is why we are here today. So, what we need you to do, first of all, and I'm making sure that I get this recording. Yes. So let me start again. KW Magazine, Crucial Connections in Faith and Culture. It is about facilitating conversations about worship and cultural identity. And we want to do this because we want to get to know ourselves better. We want to get to know each other better, and ultimately to develop deeper, more authentic relationships with our Creator, Yahweh. There, I have said it twice. So if you are in the room on Facebook, can you please just tell us, number 1, where you are watching from? And number 2, could you please just share this feed, because we are about to have a crucial conversation with Bishop Claion Grandison and DJ Proclaima. His government name is Bernard Reilly, out of the UK. And we are going to be talking about, among other things, we're talking about being Black and being white in the UK. We're talking about Bishop Grandison as a poet. And we are going to be getting deeper into the interview that we had with DJ Proclaima. It was really a very, very inspiring interview, which was released in the the most recent issue of the KW magazine. Now, in the room with us to help us along is Dana Barrett. So when you see comments there from Dana Barrett, she is in the Zoom room with us, helping us to connect with you, right? So if you have any questions or comments, she's going to feed them right here into the room, and then we can really have a conversation. Okay, so Bishop Grandison.
Yes.
I call him Claion. And
Right. My mother calls me as well.
That's what your mother calls you. Okay, so let me see now. Yes, this is the view we want. So, and I was just about to tell you that Dana, by the way, is going to put inside the comments where you can go to read all the previous issues of the magazine, so that you can see that very inspiring interview with DJ Proclaima. All right. Now, before we're going to be asking questions back and forth, the first question is usually a question of where you come from, where you born and grow. So, Claion, go first, please.
Yeah. Okay. So I was born in North London, a place called Kensal Rise. The hospital I was born in is no longer. They knocked it down, St Mary's Hospital. But yeah, I'm a North London boy, but and left in 1974 to the Caribbean, to Jamaica with my parents. And so I'm from North London, but I grew up in Kingston, Jamaica. So yeah,
Woohoo.
did all the good things and the not so good things in my childhood during my days in Kingston, Jamaica. So you can hear the accent, the Kingston lilt. You can hear
It's
it.
trying to come through, yes.
Yeah.
So I should tell the people that I actually knew you from way back when. I
Well,
didn't even realize, Cleon, that you went to the same primary school that I went to, and
yes,
in the same time frame that I was there.
that's right. That's right.
And because when I met you, it was when you and your brother Roger were competing with me and my sister Janice
I
at the
remember
Youth for Christ talent competition. And you guys, yeah, both of us were doing duets. It was fun. It was interesting those days. So, DJ Proclaima,
Bless you.
where were you born and raised?
Okay, so if you've heard of the legend of Robin Hood
Yes.
from Nottingham City, which is
Mm,
a city based in the heart of what we call the Midlands
yes.
in the UK, that's
Mhm.
where I'm born.
Ah,
Yeah.
so Robin Hood, maybe you picked up some of his.
I'm not a thief, but yeah, apart from that, yeah, like
No.
not
Thanks for making that clear to all. Not a thief.
a thief.
Yes,
Yeah, so that's the city I'm from. So yeah, that's where I come from. Yeah.
yes. My friend Denver Hamilton is out there, and I'm going to give him a shout out, even though I realize that
Yeah,
him
I know
don't
Never.
find the live feed yet because him
Mhm.
sending me a message to say him can't find the
To be
live
honest, you see, when
feed.
you're going that way, I'm looking at my other screen. I'm looking for the feed as well, so I can see it. So, you know.
Oh my goodness. It is there on Facebook, sir.
Okay.
Okay, KW Magazine page. It's the KW Magazine. You know
There you
what is
go.
true? Um, Here is what I'm going to do, Proclaimer, is I'm going to put that link right here inside our chat, and then you can share it with your people just in case they
I
didn't
can
do it.
see me. I can see Bishop. I can see you. I've just found it straight away, so I can share this with my UK people.
Okay,
Okay, and
because
I will share this as what is it?
because we don't want you people to be missing out, right? So, okay.
Danish to the
So I
great one.
hear I should try to refresh, but I'm seeing it right there. So here we go. All right. Now, next question. Back to Cleon again. I want to find out from you. You submitted a poem to the magazine. Well, actually, you didn't submit the poem to the magazine. I asked you, please, 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 can we put this poem in the magazine? It was so relevant, it was so on point. And people, if you want to read that poem in its entirety, please go to the page that Dana put there, the isu.com/Joanne page. You will see all 4 issues of the magazine, and you can look for the 4th issue of the magazine. It was about reparation, reconciliation, and the reggae ambassadors around the world. Now, this was right shortly after the George Floyd murder. You published this poem on Facebook, and we are looking forward, sir, to the book with all of the poems. But it was just so on point. When did you start writing?
Well, it in 2018. I remember it very clearly. Run about sort of February,
Mm,
March. Um, just just kind of I don't know. It just came. It just came in a wave. It came in a wave, and I'm an observer of people.
Yes,
And obviously, as a pastor, I'm always engaging with people, particularly Black women, because of the just for a number of reasons.
yes,
Um, and um, and I think what normally happens is I'm quite colorful and creative in my preaching,
yes,
and quite often it's very poetic sometimes in the way it comes across. And I think it was like a natural progression into the lines just came. And as soon as something happened in our society, or as soon as I observed something, we had something called Windrush
yes,
recently. And I remembered I kind of had a picture of my mother leaving leaving Jamaica to come to England, and what it might have looked like, or
yes,
what might have been her journey. And over the years that she's lived here, that was one of the first ones that I wrote. But I kept them to myself, like Mary. I pondered them in my heart
yes,
because I was I didn't think it was that good. I was a bit weary, and then I kind of, I did ask a few friends. Well, one particular friend, she's a journalist, Marcia
yes.
Dixon, to put it on her page and
Hmm.
to see what the responses were. And people did respond quite well.
Yes,
And so
yes.
that was kind of the beginning.
Okay. That was 2018, you say?
2018, yes.
So, I was having a chat with your brother Roger, and I said, anyhow, you come with any kind of late date, I am going to confront you on that, because I am sure that you worked with him to write those songs you guys were singing. But I remember speaking in a heavenly
Oh, you're not
language.
going to bring that
They,
up. Oh,
of course, I'm going to bring it up. So you've been writing, and you
no,
need to not despise small beginnings. Small beginnings.
very true. Up in my
Yes.
Aki tree back in yes, in the whole
You see what I am saying?
yes, yeah,
Okay.
it started from
Yes.
way back. Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely
Yes.
right.
Yes. Yes. All right. No, I want to take Proclaima back to his childhood, to your childhood, sir.
A long time ago
You
now, but
yes, but before I do that, I let me just, because there are some people who don't know you,
okay.
can't imagine, you know. Anyway,
Hmm.
what happened was that my husband discovered you
Okay.
on YouTube,
Okay.
and especially on a Sunday morning making breakfast. This was his go-to channel to
Oh,
listen to you play music. But so it was both the songs you chose to play, and it was the ministry that came along with the songs.
okay.
But for people who do not know, DJ Proclaima has two radio shows that are syndicated on over 100 FM digital and online stations around the world. And his YouTube channel gets somewhere between 10 and 20,000 views every single day.
Hmm.
All in all, he's able to reach over 1 million people a month.
Hmm.
Yes. And his channel, well, when we put this out, had just hit 50,000 subscribers. How many subscribers do you
So
have
we're
now?
on our way to 57 now. 57 now.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Awesome,
yeah.
awesome, awesome.
Hmm.
And so we know you're a very busy man, and we
Hmm.
really are grateful to have you here. But
It's
guess
an honor
what?
and a
We
privilege.
know, say, Bishop, busy too,
Hmm.
especially on a Saturday.
Hmm.
You
Well,
know,
not as busy as my good friend DJ Proclaima. I wish I had that many subscribers. Church would be church would turn up, but there you go.
so one of the things you told us in the interview, sir, is that you grew up among Caribbean people
Hmm.
in the UK.
Yeah.
What was that like? What was it like
It's just
being white in a black community?
so when I was very young,
Yes.
I'm talking sort of 5, maybe 6. I would say that it was just it wasn't something that I was conscious of, in the fact that I didn't analyze it, if that makes sense. It was just my normal.
It makes sense.
So I can remember the local community centre, we'd have events on, you know, for the community, and go in there, and there'd be sound system playing, and they used to call it toasting. I can remember a guy, I must be ancient now, a brother called Derek, and he used to toast, and they'd have one record deck, vinyl record deck, and they'd have the speakers there. And whilst the other kids were running around, I don't know why, but I just used to go and stand by them and watch and listen. And that was the thing that captivated me. And that was just I mean, we grew up speaking very terrible patois, I guess. Like, we just learned a few little words, and, you know, we'd say, oh, your teeth, look at you, you know, but they were just words that were in our, in the area where we lived. That's the population. You sort of picked up different phrases and words and things like that. And it was just our normal. Yeah, it was just our normal. Yeah.
So you're pretty much saying that, I mean, skin color, you didn't notice that?
I mean, it was kind of like, you know, everybody just got along with everybody.
Yeah.
And I think Black people are very accepting. I think people from the Caribbean are very open. And I think their culture is very strong, so it's very dominant. When there's a community of Black people somewhere, the culture is very strong. Especially Jamaican culture is very prevalent. And I think where we grew up, it was just everybody. That's just how it was, and everybody just got on with everybody. And you know, and that's how it was. Yeah. So it wasn't something that we thought about. It was just our normal. Do you know what I mean? It was just our normal. It was great. Yeah, it was lovely.
Wow. So Angela Slack says, big up to the bishop. And Brick Rose was our interviewee a couple of weeks ago, and when you mentioned toasting, she spoke about that too. She grew up in the US to Caribbean parents, and so Jamaican parents. So it's kind of, I suppose, we rub off on whoever comes around.
I think wherever you go in the world, I mean, I've been to South Africa. I've been to, you always find some Jamaican people. You always find some Jamaican people, you know, and everywhere you go. So, you know.
And people trying to be Jamaican, eh?
Yeah. It's bizarre, isn't it, really? Yeah.
So, yes. So I'm wondering, you know, for the sake of your congregants, let me call you Bishop. I am wondering, sir, how did you make that transition from Jamaica? But I mean, how old were you when you left Jamaica to go back to the UK?
Oh, grown man. I was in my 20s. It was in 1990. So I was in my 20s. Went back, and it was difficult, I think, in some parts. Church was good. Church was a great community, but I think with work, I had these amazing ideas that work would be accepting and this wonderful place to get in and just mix with people and just get on. And it wasn't quite like that. I found out that come lunchtime, it doesn't matter how well you got on in the office. You don't hear a call to anyone in the street. Wow. It was like that. But then again, London can be a very unfriendly place anyway. Compared to big places like Nottingham is far different. I found that, and it was in one of those posh places, Putney, a place called Putney, and everyone's really upmarket and everything. And I was this Caribbean boy with a very strong Jamaican accent.
Yes.
I had to say whatever I had to say 3-4 times because they couldn't understand what I was saying. I'm speaking perfect English, but I think sometimes people are a bit lazy. If it doesn't have a strong British accent, they just don't understand or pretend. So it was frustrating. So I ended up going for a lot of the day, not saying much, just keeping very quiet because it was almost embarrassing having to always repeat myself.
Yes.
So the early days at work.
And obviously, I mean, things have changed along the way, both in the UK and in your own environment. I mean, in your own personal space, things have changed, you
Yeah.
know. So this is one thing that's good to know. Not all of the UK is the same. Angela Slack was saying that what Bernard is saying is so very true. We have a Jamaican saying that if you spin the globe and stick a pin, you will find a Jamaican there. And she actually said ha ha ha, but I actually laughed. So but yes, the whole UK is not the same experience. And when I'd sent that question about what was it like being Black in the UK, I said, I know your experience would be different from other people's experience. I wonder though, if Proclaima, if your experience as have you ever had negative experiences around Blacks in the UK?
Yeah, I mean, I would. I mean, I would say this. If we're going to keep it real, I would say that England has a history of actually being quite a racist nation. Again, I can say this is just truth.
Mm-hmm.
If we look at the culture back in the 60s and 70s, I know Bishop mentioned Windrush, for example. We invited people over to our country after the war because as a nation we were in recovery. We had a shortfall in skills and labour. And then when people got here, we treated them very badly.
Ouch.
And like my grandfather was an Irishman. My last name's Reilly.
Mm-hmm.
And he would tell me that, he'd say, son, you know, there were signs up everywhere saying no Blacks, no dogs, no Irish, you know, and that was a big thing in England. But obviously, I think Black people really did have a hard time, and I think actually can still in some areas can still have a hard time. I mean, there's a big thing in the moment. One of the major supermarkets has stood up for a thing called Black History Month that we have in the UK, which I know they're having in other countries. And there's a lot of kickback from different areas, white community. And so it's like England is coming to terms with itself and realizing that it has to change.
Yeah.
And I think it's actually, it's not just decades overdue, it's hundreds of years overdue. But I think it is interesting to see that when the George Floyd thing happened, that actually, because I actually put a video out on my channel. So my channel, I only put music videos on there, but I actually did a video about the George Floyd thing. And my basic message was, well, white people actually need to stand up. It's not just Black people who need to stand up and comment. Everybody who's a human needs to stand up. And what was interesting in the UK was that were tens and tens of thousands of white people getting up and saying this is wrong and this needs to change and this needs to happen. So I think England is a land with some contradictions at the moment. I think there are a lot of people who just accept everybody, but then you still have some communities where they're just really stuck in the dark ages and ignorance, and it's unfortunate. For me, have I ever had any negative atmosphere? I think probably more shock than anything. So I've kind of had stuff where I've turned up to places and people don't think I know anything, and I'm going to start running tune, and you know, they hear me talk and I hang with them for a bit, they understand. But generally, I find Black and Caribbean people are very, very open and welcoming. I would say that most households have what I call a magic Dutch pot. No matter how many people come around, there's always food in there for somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a very social and open kind of community. So I can't say poor old me or anything like that. I've loved the life I live.
Yes.
Where God's placed me, and I'm very happy.
I see Bishop laughing when you talk about the magic Dutch pot, because it looked like he used to have one in his house, you know, going up.
Still have what? Two, as a matter of fact, two.
You have two.
There's a lot of magic in our house.
Yes.
It's good is if 4 people come in, there's 4 foods. If there's 12 people come, somehow there's 12 foods in the.
I'm telling you.
12 meals in the Dutch. I don't know how it works, but it's the science of a Dutch pot.
Yes, you know, I feel blessed to have both of you on at the same time. there is one of the things is you mentioned that thing about no blacks, no dogs, no Irish. And there are many Black people outside of the UK who didn't realize that it wasn't just Blacks that were being excluded, but Irish were included in that as well. And for us, Irish is white, so, you know, but Black and white is not so evenly distributed, is it?
And also, I mean, the fact is that, you know, the people getting stopped by the police are Irish people. I mean, those things, that's historical, the Irish thing.
Yes.
But they're not the people getting hassled, and
Yes.
you know, they're not the people getting overlooked for jobs.
Yes.
The rubbish that's happened historically. But
Yes.
I feel like there is a big change happening where it's kind of realized that it's no longer acceptable for those things to continue. So whether, let's see how deep it goes and how long it lasts, that's what I'm saying. It has to happen at kind of, the nation has to kind of come to terms. I believe as a country, we need to repent for a colonial past, and we need to repent for the sins of slavery and the things that we've done. I believe it will change the spiritual atmosphere over our nation. And I believe that it will do something for us as a country. I mean, you know, they still sing with great vigor, "Rule Britannia, Britannia rules the waves."
Seriously?
Yeah. They have a thing called "Last Night at the Proms," and that's a very cultural thing where the kind of richer people would go to a thing which is a celebration. And so they still sing these songs and that, but I don't think they've necessarily thought it through. Can we just say that? I think it's more a cultural celebration without realizing, hang on a minute, I'm celebrating something that's really got its roots in oppressing other nations. So, yeah.
You are right. And what happened too is that my mother used to sing that song in school growing up. You're talking about the 1940s, right?
Okay.
And it's just as we have been having these conversations at home now that she's realizing what she was doing in singing that song so, you know, lustily. Rule, but, you know, it's something else. But yes, I do feel honored to have and blessed to have both of you here sharing your experiences, and it's not being the typical, you know, black and white. It's different, and it's seeing what is possible in the future. When we came on, and you know, Dana is in Canada, so she's behind Jamaica time, and you know, and then you're ahead of Jamaica time. We said Bishop is in the future. You know, what does it look like? Can you tell us? And you know, I think it is possible for sure for this kind of change, this transformation, as we speak with each other and as we listen to God, that it can happen. There can be a change. All right. Now, Bishop, you in your poem, when I read that poem, I heard echoes of Sam Sharp in there. Now, Sam Sharp, for those who do not know, is one of the national heroes of Jamaica. And he's from the Western End. And in 1832, I think it was, he started a revolution in trying to free the slaves, the enslaved people. And he said, I would rather die on yonder gallows than to die a slave, than to live a slave. Let me say that again. I would rather die on yonder gallows than to live a slave. And in your poem, there's a line that says, what is the point of surrender if I'm going to be killed? What's the point of surrender if I'm going to be killed? And I read that, and instantly it's like I could hear that voice of Sam Sharp. Was that in your mind any at all? Did it influence you in any way?
No, well, yes and no, because
Okay.
One of my lecturers always said to me, when you write stuff, you want to give credit to people. So these are not your own thoughts. You think they are your own thoughts, but somewhere along the line, you collected this in your reading or in your listening.
Yes.
But to be perfectly honest, all I could feel at that point was the emotion of the situation. What's the point of surrender if I'm going to be killed? I'd rather, I can't
Right.
remember my own poem.
I think the idea was that it would be better to fight your way out of this than to surrender only to be killed.
That's right.
Better not to just lie down and let them kill you, but to.
My frustration was the fact that if I was there, would I have stepped forward? Would I have put myself on the line? Would I have said something, did something, stepped forward?
Yeah.
And a situation happened to me recently. I was coming home from church, and right before us in Woolwich, I witnessed a young man being murdered. He was on his bike, he was knocked off, and two boys went to him and started knifing him, and all of the traffic stopped, and I was behind like 3 cars, and I just said, I can't stay here, and I pulled out traffic and started to head towards it. The guys, they ran towards the car, and I tried to run them off the road. Now, it was a dangerous thing to do, I know, reckless, like my family was in the car, but I'm not one of those people who can just sit back and watch things happening, and I think that gets me in trouble at times. I have a short fuse, and things like those, there's a holy rage, I think, call it holy rage, whatever it is. Injustice really gets me. And I got involved after the whole thing. I called 911. He did die in the end, unfortunately. And I still need to go to court next month as a witness. But, I find it hard to drive away from situations that are happening or to look the other way. And sometimes I think as a people, we don't say enough or do enough. And so the frustration for me was, what's the point of me surrendering and being humiliated and still die? I'd rather die trying.
Yeah. Wow. This is sounding, and Dana is saying Jesus was the same. This is sounding similar to what Proclaima was saying earlier too, that he, even though he doesn't normally put anything apart from music videos on his page, he had to deal with the issue, and that it wasn't something that it was for Black people to deal with only, or something for white people to deal with, but it's something for humanity to deal with. And I think it really is becoming too comfortable, too easy for us to walk by the things, close our eyes then to the things that are happening every day. Somebody posted somewhere recently that we in Jamaica have this way. We will get all righteously indignant about things that are happening in other spaces. But when the same kinds of things or worse happen at home, we just la-di-da and get on with our lives. And truly, you gentlemen are there as a part of that host of people challenging humanity to not just walk by, because Jesus, as Dana said, was the same. And if we are followers of Jesus Christ, then I can't understand how we can be followers of Jesus Christ and not be concerned about matters of justice. That is one thing I do not understand. I want to I want to kind of shift, but not quite shift. I want to talk to Proclaima about a statement that he made about, and by the way, how did you, Bishop looked like him born and grow in a Christian household. right? So
Yeah, boring. It's really boring. Yeah, very much so.
I'm sorry to draw these as make these assumptions about you, but
That's a good
me know
boy.
you're from your little boy, right? So but Proclaima, were you always walking with Jesus? And if not, how did you meet him? What's that
Well,
story?
I was not walking with Jesus at all. Um,
Okay.
but I know that looking back, that I believe that the Lord had his hand on my life, and a calling for me and an anointing for me. But I've got to say that that's what the success I'm having in my life is more a statement about him than it is about me. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And his goodness. So I grew up in a very dysfunctional family, very broken family, abuse, violence, all kinds of madness going on. And I had a grandma who was a beautiful Irish lady, Catholic lady. And I used to go to church with her occasionally. I think I used to go to Christmas Mass because afterwards she'd let me have a little glass of sherry. And it would hot up my chest. And, it was like I was a young guy and it was, a little boy sort of thing. But I never, the area where I grew up in, there was a lot of bad things happening, but somehow I never got caught up in them. And there was just something about those things that wasn't a path that I wanted to go down. And I can remember that on my vice, if you like, the thing that the enemy got me with was I used to love ladies and I used to love music and parties. So I was a guy who had about 10 different women on the go and all that kind of stuff, loads of different ladies. And but I used to feel lost, and that's the truth. I think sometimes when we give back our testimonies, people talk about the bad things they did, this, that, the other, almost like they're celebrating those things, but they forget to mention how they feel. And the truth of the matter is, I felt lost. I felt lost. And I used to think, if God is there, then I want to know.
Yeah.
I want to know. And the area where I used to grow up, unfortunately, the way I used to conduct myself was, there was one lady that was kind of like my main lady, and I used to kind of be with her because her mum and that would cook me the rice and peas. And I'd go from hers to see a next lady. And when I would do those things, I can remember kind of shouting at God and saying, God, if you are there, then I want to know. Right. And I kind of talk to God almost in a quite disrespectful way. I'd say, I'm not playing. You need to show me. I need to know. So then what happened, a friend of mine, a guy I was working with, Jamaican brother, he'd come over from Jamaica. He got this amazing story of how he'd been saved from a life of crime, how God had come into his heart. And I never knew anything about this guy. I just knew that this guy had a good vibe, and he looked good, clean living guy. Not like me and not like the people I was hanging with. So he got talking to me, and he mentioned his testimony to me, and he spoke about how the Holy Spirit had come into his life and transformed him. And without any knowledge at all, I said to him, listen, if that's true, that's what I need in my life. So anyway, he arranged for his pastor to come and see me, and I was not happy about that. I thought his pastor was going to beat me, man. I thought when his pastor finds out what I've been up to and what I'm up to, I did not think that was going to be a comfortable conversation. His pastor, Bishop Beeson, is a legend in the UK. Came to
see yes, Bishop Beeson.
Yeah.
Good friend.
Yeah. Came to see me, did not put a foot wrong, just told me about the love of God, told me what Jesus did. And I kind of prayed in that. And my story started there. I wasn't an overnight success, but God had his hand on me. And God spoke to me and said to me, can you remember when you used to walk and you used to shout at me? And I was kind of, yes, Lord. And he said, well, he showed me in the word where it says, whoever calls on the name of the Lord will be saved. And he said, you were calling on my name. You were calling on me.
Yeah.
And I want you to know today that there is mercy for everybody. Plenty mercy. It's bigger than that Dutch pot I mentioned earlier. There's more in there for everybody. Everybody. There's mercy. You know, the scripture said that he's full of mercy. He's full of it. He's not just got a little pocket with it in. He's full of it. And all I know is that without deserving it, he's poured out his love and his mercy on my life, and he's
Wow.
transformed me, my sister. So I'm a man. I can't stop talking about him. That's where I'm coming
Yes.
from. Yeah, that's me.
And we really have been blessed by your ministry.
Thank you.
Online people, DJ Proclaima, just go on YouTube and you'll find him there with a whole lot of videos of music, and the primary genre that you play is reggae. Am
Yes.
I right?
Yes.
People, look at how his face light up. You see it?
I'm a reggae man. Yeah.
I mean, so I mean, I am curious to know. There are a couple of questions that I had. You said it's like there is a connection between white people and reggae music.
Mm-hmm.
There's a connection between our people and reggae music, but
Yeah.
reggae music was born and came out of Jamaica, influenced by African music primarily, but is a Jamaican thing. Yeah. So, what is this thing with the white people and reggae?
Honestly,
yes,
I think it's just such a powerful music genre. I think it's really interesting. If you go into Europe, if you go into Germany and Holland, Switzerland and places like that, they have massive events where Jamaican artists will go, and there'll be a sea of people, and they're pretty much 99% white people, and they connect with the music. Wow. They know the music. I think it's the qualities of the music from Jamaica. It's just a whole nother level, and it's so special, really, because it doesn't really sound like anything else, and it informs so other music. If you look at things like hip hop and things like that, if you trace the roots of those music forms, they would go back to reggae music. I mean, we spoke about toasting earlier, and now look at rap music, you know, and you know, if you look at Kool Herc and people like that who were founders, they've got Jamaican descendants. So I think Caribbean music, I think Jamaica, I would say Jamaica's an island of overachievers. For such a small nation, they've influenced so many things in so many ways, whether it's sports or music, but definitely musically, there's so many things that it's impacted on. And I think it's so vibrant and rich in that people just like good things, don't they? And I think the reggae music can be a very good thing. Yeah.
Wow. So, and I have, question for the bishop with regard to him quoting Bob Marley. But before I get to him, let him prepare himself to answer that one. But you said in your interview, the sweetness, and I'm quoting you, the sweetness of the original rhythms are as profound, the original reggae rhythms are as profound as Mozart and Handel, and should be treated with the same respect. What would that look like to you?
I just think it's absolutely true. I think there's a real genius in the constructs of some of like real rock, and you know, if you look at Cox and Dodd, King Jammy, Toby, all these big producers, they produced musical rhythms. We call them rhythms now. It just made me laugh yesterday. I was listening to a radio station in the UK, and these little English girls were going, "Yeah, we're going to listen to this new rhythm." And I thought, my goodness, man, it really has it kind of, you know, got everywhere. But if you listen, these things can still play 40 years later. Wow. And I think that's a sign when something can last. You know, if you look at popular music, right? If you look at popular music generally, it has a very short shelf life. It has a very short shelf life. But if you look at some of the instrumentals and the music that these producers created, I know now as a Christian DJ, I can go anywhere and play them, and it is multi-generational. The reaction and the response you get, it would just cause an explosion. So I think there's a profound genius in the way they built what they did, and I think that they should be acknowledged with the same same respect and that, you know, just because
Yeah.
it's coming from a completely different place in the world, it's having massive influence around the world, and we need to respect it with the same degree. Yeah.
Wow. So that would mean then people studying it and teaching it in the same kind of way, like you do your associated board of the Royal Schools of Music exams up to grade 8 and up to the, you know, licentiate levels, then maybe we should be having programs like that to teach.
Certainly.
I'm just trying to picture what does giving it similar levels of respect as we give to
I would
Mozart
like
and
to see
Handel.
Jamaica celebrate it more. I think that cataloguing, acknowledging, and
Yeah.
recognizing that it's, you know, sometimes you don't know what you have in your hand.
Yes.
You understand? Like because it's what you grew with and it's your own. Sometimes you don't recognize the power and the beauty of something. But if you look how influential this music has been around the world, and
Yes.
it has stood the test of time, years and years later, people are still playing these things, and it has influenced so many, like I say, different art forms. And I do think it is something that needs to be kind of acknowledged properly.
Yes.
And what I like is that a lot of classical music is kind of be looked at from a very academic view. But with reggae music, I think it's come up. I'm not saying that people haven't got any classical training in the sense that they don't know how to play it, but the way they probably approached it has been extremely unique, which is what's caused the kind of difference in the sound that they've generated anyway. Like the one drop, for example,
Yes.
is an amazing construct. You know,
It's a feel. It
that's right.
starts by being a feel before you can even get
I think it's more
academic
passion
about it.
than that. I think it's more passion than academic.
Okay. Okay.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yes. Wow. So really what I hear you doing is appealing to us as Jamaican people to regard our music more highly than we do currently. So it's not really a comment
I'm
about other people. It's
going
really,
to say it carefully and respectfully, but
yeah.
I do think sometimes that we can, you know, we can see, we don't see what we have sometimes.
Yes.
We just say that. Yeah.
Okay, I appreciate that. And
Yeah.
you could never be anything other than respectful. That has been my experience.
Yeah.
And just to acknowledge some of the people who have joined us. Denver Hamilton is saying great testimony. Sophia Patrick said, "To God be the glory," and I think this was in reference to your testimony of how you met Jesus Christ as well. And Errol Bean, who is with us all the way, says, "Bless up the day, Jah people." And Brick Rose K Vibes said, and she said this in response to your commentary on the Jamaican, on reggae music, that it was just the perfect way to put it. And she's the one I was mentioning who was our guest a couple of weeks ago.
Okay.
She says she born a lyrics factory, work a lyrics store, open lyrics. Lord, I've forgotten it again, and kick down lyrics door. You know, she's really good with her lyrics, but she rides the rhythms that the others have put out there, and really has been grow up in the US, not grow up in Jamaica, and just appreciates the Jamaican music. Jonathan Garth is joining us from Trinidad and Tobago, but he's Jamaican. He makes a point of saying that, and he does rap music, which of course, as you say, originated out of Jamaican reggae music too. But then he's able to bridge between the Jamaican culture and the North American, African American culture. I wonder where that sound came from just now. Anyway, here we are. We're still here. So, Bishop, you quote Bob Marley in your poem.
Yeah, guilty.
My hand was made strong by the hand of the Almighty. No, you are a bishop. Is this something you do, typically quoting Marley, knowing that he's strongly associated with Rastafari And what do your congregants think about this?
Well, I think my congregants are used to me now. They know I'm half crazy. They know that I can. They excuse me. But I quote Bob Marley with great pride. I believe he is or was a modern day prophet, spoke to the times, addressed things, and so during George Floyd, one of my good friends, Reverend David Chasania, he could not find anything within the Black hymnal to articulate how he was feeling, or any one of our choruses from Hillsongs or whatever. No, no disrespect to Hillsong. And the only song that really appealed to him, and I was struggling to find what it song, but it was by a reggae artist, and it was basically speaking to the situation about the need to rise up and to be radically opposing to what was happening. And I think sometimes what is missing from many of our songs, in terms of our songs in church, there is no protest in it,
Wow.
and sometimes no lament. And I'm feeling, I needed something to express how I was, the lowness and the grief and the pain and I wanted to protest, and there weren't any songs, and the only song he could reach for was one of our famous reggae artists, and I'm still searching to find out which one it is, and I'll probably tell you before this is finished. But yeah.
That is so interesting, because we did a forum a few months ago, music as protest, and this is exactly what was being said. Right. And interestingly, because we had Professor Robert Beckford on that panel, and he's coming back next week as my solo guest. So we'll be able to get much more from him, and maybe he'll be following up on this as well. So I'm sorry, that was my phone going off. I did tell people I'd be in here until 2:30 or so, but that's okay. So yes, it is a problem. It's a situation, and it's a situation that can be dealt with. And you do have people like Jonathan, who is online now, has started putting things out there. He's done some spoken word pieces. But yes, we really do need, because there's something about singing together, congregational singing, that makes a difference, that changes something in the psyche of the people who are singing together. And if we don't have songs that deal with our realities, it's going to be a problem. We really do need to deal with this. Marcel Goff is saying the work of the Almighty on each of us is amazing. Let him in. And Angela Slack was saying, yes, there's no protest or lament in our worship spaces. So she's agreeing with you, sir, on that point. Bongonati is online saying, bless up my brother and sister, one love. So yes, you say that your people know you are ready and you deal with these things, but so I want to know, because DJ Proclaima, you have been using the reggae music outside of the church spaces. And I just want to know, how has that been for you? We inside the church spaces, and well, let me ask Bishop first. How is it like? When we were growing up, we definitely could not use reggae in church. It was a problem. It still is a problem in some church spaces today in Jamaica. How is it in the UK now?
Well, yeah. So I grew up in Jamaica, and I remember distinctly, specifically, I went to Waltham Park Church, 65, and the drums didn't come out until in the evening service. Didn't have any drums in the morning service. The drums was for the evening service, and that's when we really let loose. But I remember myself and my brother. We had a group called Source of Light, and we had a reggae. We had a hit reggae in our selection, and that was just a hit wherever we went. And we went to one particular church. I won't say the name of the church because it's a popular church. And I know they're very liberal now, but then we were told that we needed to leave out the reggae selection for tonight because it's not something that is acceptable.
Yeah.
I think churches today use reggae. They use Afro beats. They use soca. Anything that that kind of helps to project how we feel and celebrate as a people. And I feel sometimes I don't feel like I'm celebrating until there's a little bit of a beat to it. And yeah. I mean, you've been to our churches,
Yes.
and there's this freedom in terms of expressiveness. Yeah. I think though sometimes we've got a bit North American now, and we've left out our culture and our roots. Maybe we need to invite DJ Proclaima to come drop some tune, one of the Sunday
Hey.
Anytime, no problem.
Yeah.
So tell me what happens on the outside. And you were coming to us from an event. What was that event?
Yeah, so I was working with a minister called Isaiah Raymond Dyer and a church.
I know him.
Cornerstone Church in Nottingham. And basically through lockdown, there's a little community in Nottingham called St. Anne's, and we've literally just done church on the street there. And the format is really simple. We set up a bunch of tents, and we basically have a church service, and I play some music, and they feed the people. They have the jerk pan there, and even though you can see your breath and you have to wear your big coat, and even if it's raining hard, we are praising hard. And what's interesting is, black people don't like no cold weather, but people are coming out in droves, man. I mean, not even the weather is putting people off. People are coming out in their droves, and we had people who've kind of been on the periphery from the community that kind of eventually start volunteering and now are lifting their hands in worship. So that's been amazing. That's been a praise to God, man, the way that's been. Yeah. So for me, my journey with this thing was when I got saved, God spoke to me about music. So I can remember going to church and kind of grumbling at God and saying, God, where's the music? Like the church, the music I went to, I never really related to it or connected it to at all. And some of that was me. It wasn't all the church. I wasn't completely right. But kind of a few years into getting saved, God spoke to me. I had a dream. So in Nottingham, where I grew up, there was a centre. The big people, we still call it the Marcus Garvey Centre. And that's like the big community events, wedding, dance, everything happens in that place. And in this dream, God showed me myself playing in this place. And I was playing a sound system called Soul Cure, and I was playing reggae music, R&B, all the urban stuff, everything. So them times, Papa Sam wasn't saved, Chevelle wasn't saved, there wasn't really any music to talk of, but I knew that God had told me to do this thing. So I started to do, I was looking for music, and God showed me, again, he spoke to me about Moses just having a staff, and he said, use what I put in your hand. That's what God said to me. So I can remember having a few CDs, like that many CDs, and just starting out, and I kind of had a naivety about me. I never realized it could be a problem because I never came from a church background. I never realized that for some churches it could be an issue. We got a fantastic venue in the center of our city. We did a thing called Gen X because everybody was talking about Gen X at the time. We used to have people come in who were on drugs, prostitution, robbers, this, that, the other, and people would get saved. We saw people get healed, delivered, and trust me, I am not that clever. Like, God was doing stuff, and it wasn't to do with me, if that makes sense. It was, I can remember a lady got this massive deliverance, and God said, don't anybody touch her, and God did everything. But at the same time, we did get people coming from churches saying that we're thinking of running you out of town. We're thinking of that. And I would just say, you can do what you want, but God told me to be here, so you go and talk to him. So I never really had a problem with it. What I would say is, as time has gone along, I think it's interesting what you said, Bishop, that churches have changed and have embraced. And I think it's been a shame that they've not celebrated what God's given them, because the culture is beautiful. And yes, there are certain elements that need to be redeemed from it. But the essence of what God's given to the Jamaican people is wonderful. And it's a blessing. And the same with Afrobeat for the Africans. And it's like, are we not going to have these things in heaven? Is the best music not going to be in heaven? You know, the wonderful sounds, is that going to be in heaven? And of course it's going to be there. So for me, I use it as a tool for outreach and a connection point. When I play certain instrumentals and certain rhythms or certain styles, people who are out there who have no connection with church, know nothing about church, it will engage with them. And the Bible says this, the Bible says that life and death is in the power of the tongue. So when you preach the word of truth, and when the songs are full of the word of life and the word of truth, that's what makes a difference, and that's what changes people. So
awesome. So I am saying, I am praying, I am hoping for greater connectivity between those on the inside and those on the outside, using the word and the music as the connector. And there you are, DJ Proclaima, as a connector in this whole process. We really are grateful to you for all that you have done so far in helping to connect with the people in the music that really goes straight to the heart, and using the word. So it's like sending the word in with the music, and it penetrates. It's almost like, you know, if people know about essential oils and carrier oils. So the music is the carrier oil for the essential oil of the word, you know.
Well, without going on too long, let me just say this quite quickly. The enemy's already sussed that out and does it very effectively.
Yes.
Is that true? Does he sow destruction and you know, all the stuff that he does? Does he not use music for that purpose?
Yes.
So how much more the children of God can use it for the kingdom of God?
How much more? How much more
can we use it? So
Yes. And people, if you want to read the entire interview, and if you want to read the entire poem from Bishop Claion Grandison, then you can read it for free on isu.com, which Dana, if you could post that again for those who are just coming on. And you may also support this project by purchasing the PDF version, where you can download it into your own thing and read it at your leisure without, you know, everything. And there is a link there that Dana is going to share with you as well. Wow, this has really been one more crucial conversation. Let me make sure. No, I have a very, 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 very crucial question to ask the bishop.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yes. One of the things he said in his poem was, my generation has failed to speak the truth to power. My generation, he said, he was talking about his generation, but guess what? I think the three of us are from the same period of time. And so when you say my generation, a fury generation you're talking about, it's our generation has failed to speak the truth to power. How? Why? Where? What? I need some more on that. I may agree with you, you know. I may agree, but let me hear what's in your head.
So that's when you get into trouble, when you want words to rhyme, and then no, in all honesty, I we have a lot to say about Black Lives Matter and you know, the movement, And whatever you believe about it, the organization and everything else, as one preacher said in our pulpit on Sunday, had we been more vocal, then other voices would not have been heard above the church. And we sometimes we treat the protests as the marches. We treat it like a day in the park. That is like a picnic. It's convenient. It's in summer, so we can wear our shorts and our crop tops and have our sipping whatever, and it's a lovely day out. But the truth is, sometimes the protest takes place in the middle of winter and it's cold and it's uncomfortable, and it's the third black person who's been locked up unlawfully, and we don't see those protests. We don't see people kind of stepping up, and I include myself in that. I include myself in that. We're not willing to be classed as an outsider. I looked in the book of Mark, and Jesus purposely went amongst the lepers. By doing so, he made himself an outcast, and he made them to be part of the acceptable. And sometimes we need to put ourselves on the line, put our reputations on the line, so much so that people no longer talk to us, or the people that we reach out to are now acceptable people. And that's the kind of a tension. We're trying to be in the in crowd. We want to be acceptable. We want to not ruffle feathers. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it has to be done. Sometimes you have to say some things that are unpopular. Sometimes I need to speak to my our church has a white leadership, and every now and again I need to say, you need to make room for some of us of color to be seated around your tables of power, in your conventions and your general assemblies. You don't give us a chance, people. I'm talking to people from this diaspora, to say stuff or to be a part of it. And I'm saying, if you're building this tapestry, if you want it to be this wonderful collage of black and white and everybody, then give us a seat at the table. Give us a chance to say stuff. So the speaking truth to power means sometimes I have to pass up the opportunity to be an advisor to Donald Trump and be someone who is critiques him. As I think it's A.R. Bernard, who was one of the initial people who was a part of his advisory. And when he saw what was going on, he just stepped back and said, I'm not going to be a part of this. So, I just think sometimes we would rather be silent than speak truth. I think I probably lost my job by now, but
his job, by the way, people, he has been leading the CREWShall Christian Center in I've forgotten, in Woolwich, right? And starting on the 1st of January, if he still has a job, he will be at, I had it right here, West Croydon, is it?
That's correct, yes.
Hey, my memory isn't bad. New Testament Church of God. And yes, as we wrap up, I'm going to ask DJ Proclaima to give one final word. The last question I had was, what do you have to say to church leaders about how best to reach the unchurched? And you have said something, but I just kind of want it in a nutshell. And then after that, I am going to read a poem that was this one is a 2020 poem you gave me, right, Bishop?
Yes.
Yes, I wanted him to read the poem, but somehow he thinks I would do a better job of reading the poem. So we will see. And then we will pronounce the blessing on all of you watching from the Lord. Okay. Yes, sir. What word do you have?
I would simply say this phrase: people won't care to know unless they know how much you care. And I think if we love people till we can't love them no more, you don't have to, love speaks a lot louder than words. And if we serve and love our communities and love people, we earn the right to speak. you know,
Wow.
and they're going to take notice. So I absolutely love what Bishop just said about speaking to power, standing up. You know, we should be the loudest protesters of injustice. We should be going down to the police station and say, you need to let this person go. You need to bring them out, and we need to be the ones doing that, because then we're connecting with families, and we're not just telling them we love them. We're actually showing it them. And a lot of people, you know, they don't have a problem with God. They have a problem with church. You know, the people I speak to, a lot of unsaved people, and they say, oh, church is full of hypocrites, church is full of this, churches. And you know what? If the way to silence that is to love them, is to love them till you can't love them no more. So that my comment would be, people don't care to know until they know how much you care. That's what I
Okay.
say, yeah.
Yes, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you
But
care.
they're not going to care to listen. They're not going to care
Right.
to
They're
know
not
the
going to
gospel.
pay
They're
attention.
not going to care to come to church. They're not going to care to
Yes,
know unless they know how much you care.
that's
You
right.
know, and you can touch families, you can touch a whole generation by just acts of love. And you know, without going there preaching, just go and love them and take care of them. I can see you need some food. We brought you some shopping. We brought you some groceries. You can see your sons, you know, this, we're coming down there. We're going to come get you, and just serve them. And then eventually they will. And didn't Jesus say that people will know how you might be disciples by how much you love each other?
This is
No,
it. It's the bottom line, isn't it?
that's right. So
Yes,
love really is, it's the answer, isn't it? And what does the Bible say?
it
God is
is.
love. God is
Yes,
love. God, for
yes.
God to love the world. That was a demonstration,
Mm-hmm.
right? Did God demonstrate his love for us? That whilst we were still sinners, he sent his one and
That
only son.
it's sacrifice.
Right. So
Yes.
what demonstration of love are our churches got for our communities? What is
Mm-hmm.
the demonstration? You know, are we just gathering together and doing our prayer sermon sandwich and then going home? Or are we getting out? Are we going out amongst people and demonstrating that love?
Yes.
And it's so, you know, love is simple. It's not hard and it's pure. You know, just go and make some soup and go and give soup to people.
Yeah.
You know, pull together some little hampers, whatever it is. Go and
Mm-hmm.
do a little something. Go and take that lady at Tinavaki and just knock on it. Don't say a whole bunch of things to her, just or whatever it is, and just show that love. And then one time you will earn the right to speak to her. And that's
Yeah.
all I would say.
Okay. Wow. Thank you so much. And Angela Slack Online is saying this misnomer of going to church needs to be challenged as we are the church
That's right.
going with the truth
Yeah.
of God's word.
Hmm.
And she says this lockdown is a golden opportunity to change our mindset.
Amen.
She also said later on that there's an old Chinese saying, better to be the emperor's dog than the village headman's right-hand man. I don't know that old Chinese saying, but it's interesting. Do we value, her point is, do we value being on God's side or men's side?
Hmm.
And this is her thing about speaking truth to power. And then she says, DJ Proclaima, it's a very powerful thing that you are saying. And it's simple too. It's simple, it's real, it's powerful. Marcel Goff says, give thanks, selector. Go and spin the tracks for the Almighty. Yes, it's love, love, and more love. And he also says, Bishop, we need the book of poems. Oh, by the way, I just very briefly, where Proclaimer, you just set up a new website, I think. Okay. Can you tell us the name of that website? And
yeah,
if you could...
we've done in the UK, we have some big black sort of urban stations like One Extra and Capital Extra. So we've just done a station called Affinity Extra, which is basically a celebration of gospel music of black origin. Now, I'm the old man in there, and what I'm doing is I'm facilitating the young people and standing back and just letting them do what they do.
Awesome.
And that's it, yeah. So they let me play once a week.
Once a week, they let you play.
They let me play on there once a week, but I just let them do it because it don't look like the music I play, you know. But they're just being themselves. So
okay, so it's affinityextra.com.
That's right.
If you could you put that in the chat so that
Absolutely.
Dana can post it there? And then, sir, do you have any word of when we are going to get this book of poems? Right before I close out by reading your.
Well, the honest truth is, it's still in the oven. I'm still working on it. I thought originally it was going to be called 31 books, 31 poems dedicated to Black women. I've gone way beyond that now, so you're gonna have to call it something else, either 62 or 73 or whatever. But it's not just about Black women; it's about life in general. And I'm just thinking, okay, this vision that I've had is bigger than me. It's gone beyond what I thought I was capable of writing. I mean, if I was to give any words of encouragement, DJ Proclaima stole my thunder, because that is exactly what I was going to say. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And my man just steal my thunder. So
no, it is. You know what? This is confirmation from the Spirit of God.
So confirmation. So confirmation. I saw Elijah. And I was preaching the other day. He was leaving the brook that had dried up, and he's going to Zarephath. And the Lord says to him, "Go to Zarephath and live." And he located a single mother who had parking tickets and bills to pay and all kinds of things. And he says, I want you to connect with this woman. I want you to live amongst the people. And I've always said, we have no right to request from people any kind of money, finances, whatever, unless we know how they're living. You have no right to make demands on people unless you know what it takes for someone to get to church on a Sunday or to get involved in what you're doing. You need to know. So he says, go live amongst them. In Cherith, he's hiding. In Zarephath, he says, go live. And he spent 3 years, I guess, right about 3 years, living with that woman, living amongst the people. And that's probably what we need to do more of. If we live amongst people, then we won't run off with the money.
It's a great word, Bishop.
Yes. And just one more thing on the matter of love. What Jesus said was that we should love our neighbor as we love ourselves. And unfortunately, many of us do not know how to love ourselves. And as a result, we are deficient in our capacity to love others, you know. But see, there it is. You mentioned about us accepting all that God has given us, see, and that we're not respecting it enough and this kind of a thing. It comes from that same place. So if we are going to love others the way God has sent us to love, we must love ourselves.
Can I just make a little comment quickly?
Sure.
In Corinthians, people read the whole chapter on love. The thing that stands out for me in there is it says love never fails.
Yeah.
And if you don't know what to do in a situation, just love, because you can't fail. It never fails. So there you go.
There you go. So now I'm going to read this poem, which is Our Story Retold. I really like the last line because there is hope in it. This is a poem that was, written by Claion Grandison, Our Story Retold. Ours is a story not often retold, how strangers in big ships came seeking our gold, and we, being trusting, then loosened our hold, were loaded on big ships and placed in its hold. Graded, degraded, shackled and traded, a child and her mother, like cattle paraded. A father and son that are now separated, while cousins and aunties in the oceans were drowned. Sold to the man in the big broad hat, a few $100, and a bargain at that. Our esteemed forefathers never bargained for that. A few 100 years, and we're still paying the debt. We worked their plantations, creating scandalous amounts of wealth, breastfeeding white babies whilst ours lacked good health, mothers drowning babies so they wouldn't live as slaves. When finally they freed us with the promise of land, a mule, 40 acres, and a chance to belong, they snared us with laws that would make us go wrong, stifled our dreams, and muted our song of freedom. We created our Wall Street and built our own towns, till jealous marauders came and burnt it all down. White hooded men and the burning cross, enraged by black excellence and the line we dared cross. In 2008, you crowned us as king. We lived in your White House with our ebony skin. Then came the hate and a deluge of lies. But as Maya A said, yet still we rise and rise. As this chapter ends and another begins, amidst the trauma and most racist of sins, there's a blood-stained cry for something that's new, a call for true justice from the unmarked tombs. Ours is a story not often retold, how strangers from big ships conquered their new world, survived against odds unbelievably skewed, a people displaced, a people renewed.
Powerful, man. Wow.
That's the reason why I asked you to recite it. I have, wow, that interpretation is just, you almost made me cry. Thank you so much. You've done justice to it. You've done justice to it, and thank you so much, Joe.
And thank you for being the vessel that you have been. I have seen how quickly you push out these poems as soon as a situation arises. And people, if you want to read another poem from Claion Grandison before him put out his book, then in the next issue of the magazine, which is coming out in another week or two, hopefully closer to the 1 week than the 2, then you'll see, is it My Afro? Anyways, if you stay tuned, Afro is my crown. My beloved people, may I beg God to bless you and keep you. May I beg him to smile upon you. May I beg him to show you him love, even though none of we no deserve it. And may I beg him to look upon you and go no feel peace today and tomorrow and the next day and the next day until him come back. In Jesus' name, you know what good and one love. Thank you so much to Bishop Claion Grandison and DJ Proclaima, Bernard Reilly, for being with us on this crucial conversation.
What a blessing. Thank you.
Thank you.